Today on Rise Up, we begin with a case of persecution, a serious threat to the lives of Iranian members that were recently deported by Turkey. Then, we shift to hope and action, as we highlight videos from believers around the world spreading the call in honor of the riser. Next, we take a moment to explore community posts from the riser's official YouTube channel. After that, James sits down with Brother Nasaie to discuss his bold stand for LGBTQ rights in Malaysia, following the 2023 protest carried out by him and 7 other members of the faith. Then, we hear from believers within the riser's community, sharing how knowing the riser has transformed them, reshaping their journeys toward becoming better, more conscious versions of themselves. And finally, we wrap up by turning to you, reading your thoughts from the comments section, your questions, your insights, and your witness to what's unfolding. This is Rise Up.
Good morning, welcome to Rise Up. I'm Alia Halal.
Very good morning, welcome to Rise Up. I'm Irfan Alamgir.
There's quite a lot of topics to cover today according to our intro.
Yeah, it was a long intro, huh?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I think it's over a minute long.
There you go.
It's a lot to talk about.
It's a record.
And a lot has been happening globally with our Ansar and also with us here on the ground. So I'm not surprised because we always like to keep our viewers up to date with the latest, right, of what's happening in the religion.
They got to know the news.
They have to. And there is a very kind of political side that's entering into our current events in terms of the Ansar abroad because of the fact that a lot of them are being persecuted and they end up in situations such as in Turkey, and we're going to go into that in a second, where deportation is a real threat to their lives. And I think it's important that we shed some light on why that's a problem and where that even started. Before we get in there, though, we do have a news article on it from divinejuststate.com, our magazine. Should we go ahead and read that and see what the story is?
Yeah, I think this story is very important to really highlight because we have had issues. I think we've spoken even about this issue before, but things are escalating, and it's really important to stay, like we said, up to speed with what's happening. And I think the Divine Just State is the perfect platform, the magazine,
it is,
to really speak about these things. And I think that's, I always enjoy reading the articles because they summarize and really highlight the main issues.
Yeah, and they keep you aware of what's happening and where we're standing as a religion. So let's go ahead and see what it is that is taking place in Turkey with our members. Let's put it on the screen. There we are. Threat to lives of Iranian AROPL members deported by Turkey.
Would you like to do the honors?
You go.
M and R names change for protection, along with their children, 11 and 9 years old, represent more than a refugee statistic. Their story shows a serious human rights crisis where state violence, religious persecution, and failures in international law all come together. Fleeing from targeted repression of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light in Iran, the family has now been sent back to the same dangers they tried to escape. It was the hope for a life in safety, free from fear and oppression, that led the family to flee from Iran to Turkey. Their journey began with a basic, universally recognized right, the right to freely practice one's religious beliefs. Okay? Shall we go to the next one?
Yeah.
On July 22nd, 2025, this family, instead of finding justice and safety, found themselves detained in a deportation center near the Turkish-Iranian border. What awaited them was not a fair asylum process, but the illegal return to the very country they fled due to religious persecution. Their situation is part of a long and painful history of religious persecution, particularly against members of AROPL in Iran and other predominantly Muslim countries. The human rights context, systemic persecution in Iran. Iran has increasingly turned from its obligations under international human rights law, depriving religious minorities and especially the AROPL community of basic rights and protections. first-hand reports show a disturbing pattern of arrests, torture, and intimidation. In a state where Shiite Islam is closely tied with political power, the regime ruthlessly opposes any interpretation that diverges from the state-sponsored narrative, especially AROPL, the followers of Abbas Sadiq. This was also the case for M and R, a married couple from Iran and parents of 2 children. When they first encountered the teachings of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light 10 months ago, their spiritual awakening became a reason to fear for their lives. Since 2019, Iranian authorities have carried out a systematic campaign of persecution against members of AROPL. Official propaganda such as a state-produced documentary labeling its followers as heretical and terrorists laid the groundwork for the waves of arrests, home raids, and torture. In 2021 alone, 13 members were reportedly imprisoned in the notorious Evin prison and forced to renounce their faith under the threat of violence. Escape to Turkey from hope to fear. Inspired by hope, M and R began expressing their faith at home even as fears grew. When their religious enthusiasm was met with hostility from the extended family and threats from authorities, the only safe path left was to flee. They entered Turkey legally on February 22, 2025, hoping for protection and respect for human rights. Yet, even in Turkey, they have not found safety. Turkish authorities, instead of upholding the rights of the religious refugees, have become increasingly repressive towards AROPL followers. In May 2023, 104 Ahmadi religion of peace and light members were detained at the Turkish-Bulgarian border and denied due process. In January 2025, an Iranian member and his family faced home raids after peacefully distributing religious flyers. When police did not find the member, they arrested his wife and 6-month-old baby. On February 3rd, 2025, 3 more members of the faith were arrested for nothing more than distributing peaceful flyers, a violation of their right to freedom of religion and expression as enshrined in international law.
Okay, let's go
I think
to
that's
the
it.
next one. There we are.
Want to take over?
Sure. In the case of M&R, following Turkey's implementation of stricter measures, the family was detained by Turkish authorities 2 weeks ago and transferred to a deportation facility. The conditions they describe are inhumane, in direct contrast to Turkey's commitments to protect basic human rights and to prevent torture, including the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. No possibility to bathe, no place to sleep, only bread and water provided as food, and neglect so severe that their youngest child now suffers from a spreading rash. They treat us as if we're criminals, as if we're not human, reports M in a video message to the Iranian bishop of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light, holding up his hands to the camera, unwashed and neglected, as even the most basic hygiene is denied to the family. Despite having legal representation to prevent forced removal by Turkish authorities, and despite international law's absolute prohibition of refoulement, the return of refugees to places where they face serious danger, the family was forcibly deported in a covert nighttime operation. It's so tragic.
Yeah.
Deportation into death. In the early morning hours of July 22nd at 3 a.m., the family was violently awakened by officers and forced onto a bus heading back to where it all began, the Turkish-Iranian border, to await their deportation. The illegal deportation of this family has exposed them to a life-threatening outcome: persecution, imprisonment, trauma, and tragically, the risk of torture or worse. For the children, it means growing up in a country where their beliefs are branded terrorist and they are never safe. This is a serious breach of Turkey's obligations under international law, as well as a moral failure.
Yeah, lots of Anne Frank kind of vibes happening there.
It is very
right?
Horrifying.
Round up people at 3 a.m. and take them for deportation in a country where they're going to be flogged or killed.
Is there any oversight over these kinds of systems? It's ridiculous. The Ahmadi religion of peace and light is calling for international attention and urgent intervention. The Turkish government must be held accountable for its international human rights obligations. The practice of arbitrary detention and illegal deportation must cease. At an absolute minimum, others at risk of similar fates deserve access to a fair and transparent asylum process.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, these individuals have the inherent right to safety, dignity, and freedom. Human rights are not optional. Turkey must recognize this, and the international community must demand accountability before more lives are destroyed for the crime of faith. My goodness. Such a chilling piece, such a very, very chilling news piece. And this is post the event. I mean, they have been deported. You know, this is not a small...
It's happened.
Yeah, it's happened. This is not a small matter. These individuals are at so much risk of, as it says very clearly in that news piece, torture or worse. And they were sent back home anyway. So-called home. We're calling it home, but Iran does not consider those particular individuals as even human beings. They consider them criminals because they believe in a religion that says humanity first.
Yeah, and you know, in making sure and ensuring that this doesn't happen again at school in this country, in the United Kingdom, and I know it's the same in the USA, which is that you have to study the Anne Frank story. And not only did we read the book, we actually went to see the play, and it took it to the next level because it's the exact scenes that we just read out for the audience. You can actually visualize the scenes, and we're sitting there, our whole class, and I think we were in grade 6 even, so quite young, you know, we weren't even in high school or secondary school, and you would hear a knock at the door, and it was the German secret services or the police, and then suddenly everybody would run and hide in the various areas that they had already pre-designated in the event that this would happen. And this is precisely what's going on with the Ahmadi Religion of Peace and Light members who have a right to practice their faith, as anyone else does, in a free society, in a society that claims to uphold human rights and human right laws, to live in peace, live and let live. What happened here is somebody at 3 a.m., even before 3 a.m., shows up at your door and says, okay, right, it's time to go. Pack up everything you have and you're going back where you came from. A country that has a very checkered past, draconian laws in place against people in minority positions. Especially in this case, it's so nonsensical that this is a group of people that hold the rights of the Ahlul Bayt to be first and foremost, and they support the will of the Prophet Muhammad. To be going back to Iran actually is akin to a death sentence in this day and age for members of our faith. And what the Turkish authorities have done is in keeping with and in alignment with what was going on in Nazi Germany in the 40s in Europe. And this is something to really sit back, and everybody should get together and write in support and write against what the Turkish authorities have done in this case. It's absolutely draconian and absolutely evil.
And it's not as if it's a hypothetical idea that perhaps Iran might be a dangerous place for members of the faith. It has been very clear, Iran has been very, very clear, very blatantly clear that it despises the religion and the members, and it has authorities in Iran have been very outspoken about the fact that they are ready to do anything and whatever it takes to, according to them, protect their country, which basically for them means that if you believe in anything other than what we tell you to believe, then you're a threat to our civilization. And according to them, that gives them the right to raid human beings and their houses. It gives them the right to arrest them for no reason. Despite what their gender might be, despite how old they might be. They have done this to elderly people, they've done this to minors, and we have that on record. This is something that has actually happened, where children have also been part of those groups that have been dragged into that Evin prison, which is known for being absolutely inhumane. And then the most terrible things happen in that place, and it's known and it's happened, it's on record. And despite all of the human rights organizations speaking out against it on behalf of the Ahmadi Religion of Peace and Light, Turkey continues to deport members to Iran, knowing that their fate is sealed.
Pretty much.
Unless there's a miracle that takes place, and God is with us, and God is the greatest of supports. But the idea is that if you know, and Turkey knows very clearly, how much have we gone through with Turkey? I mean, this is not the first time that Turkey is facing members of the religion. Turkey is very familiar with us. I mean, I think it should be. I mean, a great event took place at the Turkish-Bulgarian border where Turkey actually broke the law and did not allow these people seeking asylum to cross the border legally with the support of over 20 human rights organizations, with United Nations Special Rapporteurs on freedom of religion saying they should be able to go through, they've not done anything wrong, they need asylum, they need refuge, these people are innocent. And what happened? It was absolutely disastrous. There was relief at the end, but the process was horrific. And now, after all that, for them to send a family with 2 children back to Iran, it is just really, it's very, very, it's just ridiculous. I mean, what is that? And how is it still being allowed? I really wonder how these systems work and who is kind of overseeing how it takes place and who gets to decide these things.
Yeah, it's like we heard the term coined before famously, the axis of evil. And this kind of Turkish-Iranian understanding or agreement that they have made with each other in the shadows, behind closed doors, to deport and then punish people for believing in the will of the Prophet Muhammad is really something that begs the question that why this stance. I mean, I was recently watching a documentary that was produced by the Iranian government and its propaganda wing about the freedoms of other religions within Iran. And one of them was to really highlight the Jewish religion in Iran and how there are so many synagogues there and people practice freely there and they don't have any issue with the people, and the Jews living in Iran identify first as Iranians and then as Jews. So there was all this kind of propaganda going on, and I was like, this is great, but then why the stance against the members of this faith? That really is an interesting question, because as I was saying before, this is a Shia derivative group. This is what they're calling us in the mainstream of the 12 Shia Islam. But yet they see this as a real existential threat to their control in their particular area. Because we are saying that the successors of the 12 Imams are now here and they're called the Mahdis. And Abu Sadiq's claim goes back to the same document that the 12 Shias used to justify the imamate or the caliphate of the 12 Imams. And this makes us a very dangerous ideology to the 12 Shia control, which is which is obviously run by the marjas and the religious scholars in that country. But this is something that is very horrific that has happened. To send anyone from this faith into Iran is, like I said, it's a death sentence, and their fate is sealed. And they are now in Iran, from what we understand.
They're in Iran, and I think that the fact that the Turkish government cannot realize that this is what it leads to, and has no qualms whatsoever in sending a very innocent man who's done nothing wrong, committed no crime, except looking for asylum, with an innocent wife. Who? What is she supposed to do? Where is she supposed to go in a land where they don't even understand the language they're speaking? They're foreigners. They don't know where to go, who to turn to. Their friends and family, as we saw in the article, have turned them away from themselves. They're saying, we want nothing to do with you, because they're so afraid of the government that they're living under in Iran. So they don't want anything to do with anyone who believes in Abu Sadiq at all. And 2 children, and I can't get over that part. If anything were to happen to those parents, where are those children supposed to go? And what kind of fear are they living in, watching their parents go from place to place, being thrown into conditions where there's no hygiene at all, no access to any clean water, no access to proper food, and you have an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. I think those were the ages they gave, right?
11 and 9.
It is so heartbreaking, and that is a kind of trauma that you cannot repair easily. I mean, I don't know if you can ever repair something like that, an experience like that, and putting children through that. This is so outrageous, and for any entity to be aware of this and not look into it and immediately start to fix these kinds of problems, because God knows what else is happening to people in those buildings where human beings are rounded up like herds of cattle and thrown back into their countries where they're fleeing from, because something is very wrong at the root of those countries.
Yes.
If people are not going to stand up and look at this and do something about it, then what should happen?
Yeah, I mean, Turkey had that real opportunity to act in a benevolent way, to act like the Negus did when the Muslims were fleeing persecution from Arabia and they found a safe sanctuary there. They could have said, no, we're going to treat these people with respect, their lives are at risk, or we can transfer them to another country. There have been several European countries that have actually taken on the Ansar, and they have recognized the plight of these people and given them dignified way of living in their homeland. So Turkey had that opportunity and consciously chose to send in their secret police, their version of the Gestapo, in the middle of the night and tell people to basically go back to a country that is actively hunting down members of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light. So this is obviously going to carry a negative karma for Turkey.
It has to. This is ridiculous.
What they've done is not forgivable.
What is the reason for doing this middle of the night kind of raid? Like, what's the psychological reason for that? Why is everything so, as you said, it's
so
like
there's no opportunity to escape, there's nowhere to run.
You're in a vulnerable state, you're asleep, it's such a ridiculously dramatized kind of setup that someone has really sat down and thought to themselves.
I believe they call it shock and awe.
There it is, the thing, isn't it then? And the idea of depriving them of clean water, depriving them of food except for bread, I mean, this just goes to show they have really calculated how do you break the spirit of a human being. And it's just absolutely revolting. It really is. Basic human rights are unalienable. This is not, no country or government is above having to give that to another human being, no matter they be their citizens or not, regardless of that. So let's see what happens next. I'm sure the Bishop of Iran is in touch with the family, hopefully now that they're in Iran. Let's hope that everything is settled for them. We hope that that's the case. They are known now in Iran as members of the faith, so we don't know what will happen next. But may God be with them.
Yeah, they're in our prayers and they're in our thoughts, and they're under the protection and guidance of God, inshallah, and we pray for the best possible outcome for them.
Inshallah. Now, I guess we can move on to our next topic. I believe it is more missionary work by the Ansar around the world. For the past few days, we have been highlighting the great works of the brothers and sisters worldwide who have been extremely passionate recently and excited and going out on the streets, feeding the homeless and taking care of the poor, giving gifts out, handing out sweets and chocolates and candies and flowers and all sorts of lovely things, because everyone has been very happy this July, it being the birth month of the Riser of As-Sadiq. And we had said, Dr. Irfan, that there are so many posts that we won't be able to finish them in a couple of days, and it is ongoing. So I think this is day 4 or something of showing these
birthday wishes
footage and the birthday wishes and the pictures, but we have to give it airtime. It's so beautiful, we can't let it go unnoticed. So let's go ahead and air that segment and be right back. Let's do the video.
Yeah, let's do the video.
Yeah, let's do the video.
And there it is.
İyi ki doğdun. Lebeyk ya Abbas Sadık. Lebeyk ya Abbas Sadık. Lebeyk ya Abbas Sadık. Lebeyk ya Abbas Sadık. Lebeyk ya Abbas Sadık.
Bismillahi vahid el-kahal. Allahümme salli ala Muhammed ve ali Muhammed aleyma vel mehdina ve sellem teslima. Eşhedü en la ilahe illallah vahdehu la şerike leh ve eşhedü enne Muhammeden abduhu ve resuluhu ve eşhedü enne Ali ve İmmeta min uldihi hüccetullah ve eşhedü enne Mehdi Ahmed el-Hasan vel Mehdi Abd-Sadik vel cemiyen Mehdiyin hüccetullah. Upon this I shall live, and upon this I shall die, and upon this I shall be resurrected again, inshallah. Lebeyk ya Abbas Sadik. I wish you happy birthday, and I wish you all best. I wish that the Divine Just State be as soon as possible. We are here to support you. We are here to give you strong support from Serbia. You are Ansars from Turkey, and Serbia has risen, and they will rise from day to day more and more, and we will be greater in numbers. We are with you until the last breath. Lebeyk ya Abbas Sadik, Lebeyk ya Abbas Sadik, Lebeyk ya Abbas Sadik.
Mira, allá hay sombra y es por detrás.
Because we all have to study that we might get but check it out. The create your own. That's it. One more. Okay.
God bless
Merci
you.
beaucoup.
Merci.
Dios te bendiga.
God bless you.
Des amours. Hey. Si t'as du Colombien.
Très bien, très bien.
Ah, j'en ai une qui vient me porter aussi du... elle est thaïlandaise.
Empanadas.
Merci. Bienvenue.
Merci.
Okay, I think our audio is back.
Yes.
And we are in Spain
Back in
now.
Spain.
Oh, back to the video.
Tarjetitas del cumpleaños del imán Abdullah Hashem Abasadik. Bueno, sacas una fotito si no te vuelves. Somos de una comunidad. Es por el cumpleaños de nuestro guía y estamos repartiendo a todos una tarjetita y un pequeño regalito, pero con buenas intenciones. Así que bueno, bendiciones. Gracias. Acá está. Bendiciones. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo le va?
Hola, doña.
Ay, ¿cómo se la dejo? Se la deja a usted.
¿Cómo anda?
Bien, bien. ¿Cómo le va tanto tiempo? Estoy repartiendo tarjetitas de la comunidad de nosotros.
Ay, bueno.
Es por el cumpleaños de nuestro guía, entonces estamos entregando a todos una tarjetita. Estados Unidos y el Reino, del Reino Unido, así que estamos repartiendo por el cumpleaños de nuestro guía. Nuestro guía estamos repartiendo una tarjetita para nosotros. Bendiciones, gracias. Es porque este es nuestro guía espiritual, es el cumpleaños de él, entonces estamos repartiendo tarjetitas con un pequeño regalito para todas las personas. Bendiciones. Bendiciones para todos mis hermanos. Estoy volviendo de pegar los afiches de la religión Ahmadí, de la paz y la luz. Estoy repartiendo las tarjetitas por el cumpleaños de nuestro padre Abdullah Hashem Abasadik. Un abrazo enorme para nuestro padre amado y nada, bendiciones para todos mis hermanos y en especial para Abdullah Hashem, nuestro padre. Bendiciones. Bendiciones, hermanos, me quedaron ya poquitas tarjetas para repartir y para entregar. No sé si se puede ver acá la tarjetita. Me encantó porque se me ocurrió escribir eso. Nada, lo hago con todo mi corazón y muy feliz cumpleaños para nuestro padre Abdullah Hashem Abasadik Ahmadi. Un abrazo enorme para nuestro padre y un abrazo para todos mis hermanos en este día tan especial y espero que sean que sigamos saliendo muchas veces más y que todo sea un día especial para todos. Muchas bendiciones.
Oye, yo quiero huevo. Yo quiero huevo.
Vamos al cuarto. Sí, ya, vamos.
Wow.
International birthday celebrations of the Qaim of the family of Muhammad. So beautiful to see.
It is so, I can't get over how beautiful that is. You know, we've seen it a lot. We've watched this footage on the channel. but it doesn't fail to amaze me how much of an impact Abu Sadiq has had on people in so many places, and to such a deep extent that those with nothing are taking the very little that they have, and they're just going out there with so much passion and joy. And this elderly lady in Argentina, who I believe her name is Nora.
Yes.
Her and her daughter are believers. Kevin was here on the show the other day, and we were going through some of the pictures, and he was telling us.
Nora featured yesterday too, huh?
Yes, and she is extremely passionate about this call. She goes out there.
How long has she been a believer?
Not very long. I think it's been a few months, but she really is so dedicated to this religion that has given her hope in God, that has given her hope in people again. And she's going out there and telling everyone, hey, it's the birthday of my Imam and I want to make you happy. I want to give you something nice to eat. And you can tell that she's not a woman of great means. She's doing what she can with whatever little she has to put a smile on the face of Abu Sadiq by going out there and talking to the world. And I think that it actually made me very emotional to watch that, because it shows you that for people to go out there and be able to do that in a world like the one that we're living in at the moment, in this kind of society, it goes to show the way that Abu Sadiq is transforming people and really touching their hearts and giving them hope again and giving them the ability to do something great. It's just too much.
And she spoke in pure Spanish there.
Yeah.
Lots of usage of the word padre.
A lot of padre, a lot of happy birthday in Spanish.
Hermanos. And that goes to show that the Spanish Ansar are doing a great job as well to act as that conduit to the people of the Spanish-speaking world, which is a very sizable population. And just to see Sister Nora go out there and give out these sweets that she was giving out to people with a picture of Abu Sadiq on it, all the way throughout to Argentina. Who'd have thought an elderly lady from Argentina talking about Abu Sadiq and giving out pictures of his face to the people? It's
reminds me of that hadith where the people say that the Mahdi, when he rises, they expect him to be in the Arabic countries, and it's a very Islamic, Arabic kind of dawah, but it's not. It's actually the opposite. It becomes something where people in Argentina are recognizing him, or in the Philippines, or in Thailand, or in Canada, in the United Kingdom. I mean, it's not what people think it's supposed to be. Because unfortunately, I guess what we saw earlier in the show, countries that you would think are Islamic, like Turkey or Iran, are actually doing the exact opposite. It's so strange, isn't it?
No, it's a very interesting contrast, and it again fulfills the narrations and prophecies of the Holy Prophet Muhammad and his Ahlul Bayt, who said that this matter would be with those people who are quote-unquote the worshippers of the sun and the moon, some people who would be distant from Islamic teachings and culture, and that is exactly what we've seen in countries like Argentina, in countries like Spain, and countries all over the world where Islam is considered like a foreign entity. And that's where this dawah and this call is really blossoming in a beautiful way.
Yeah, I really also want to give a shout out here to Dennis and Stacy. That video really touched my heart as well.
Yes.
Where you see them just stand there and they're cooking in bulk, and they're just going at it, packaging that food and putting those stickers on the boxes and the packages with the face of Abu Sadiq, because they want that any good they do, it reminds the people of their Imam who has taught them this. This is what they're hoping to achieve, and then they're going out from door to door, handing out this food, saying to the people, it's an honor of our Imam. Absolutely beautiful. What a way to heal the world, right? Good food. Food is a great way to make people feel better.
Yeah.
And a smile. And it just takes a little bit, right? Just takes a little bit of that effort, and you can make the world change so much.
Yeah, definitely. I think we should maybe do something similar here in our hometown.
Yeah.
I think it will.
Another beanies and burgers event, maybe.
Yeah, why not?
We have some posts again that kind of go over some more missionary work. Let's go through those very quick. Yes, let's go over those pictures. There we go. Now we're in Australia. I think that's Brother Khalid.
Yeah. Is that the manifesto or?
I think it's a poster.
Poster.
Okay, let's go. Iraq.
There's a depiction of Imam Ahmad al-Hassan with Abu Sadiq. Not really sure what's written there, but you can see people are enthusiastic there.
It's a quote of Abu Sadiq's.
Go, let's go.
Iraq again. Oh, is food being given out in the name of Abu Sadiq?
There, yes.
That is so beautiful.
It's always, this is the way to do it. I really believe it. Giving out meals to people and spreading the word in that way.
Look at that. Look at this. This is actually, wow. Oh my goodness. Mexico. People smiling, taking what's being handed out.
What's the call doing in Mexico these days, Alia, in terms of the numbers of people there?
It is really good.
It's very active.
Like you said, I think the Spanish Dawah is doing a really great job because there are such genuine good people, aren't there, in places like Mexico and Argentina and Andorra, as we've seen recently. I miss Andorra. We haven't seen Andorra for
Andorra is also Spanish speaking, isn't it? Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, every time we roll these clips and we show these pictures, I always see faces that I've not seen before, which
There's
is
new
another...
ones coming up. Absolutely. It is spreading fast. New Zealand.
New Zealand. Brother James's constituency there.
That's right. The United States of America. The Mahdi. Look at that. You don't know how much you can change someone's day just by doing a little deed like that for them. Serbia.
No, it's really amazing to see this, and I think us talking about this is just further emphasizing how quickly the dawah is gaining momentum and how people are hearing about the Mahdi.
And how much they believe in him too.
Yeah.
How ready they are to just go onto the streets holding his face up in pride and talking about him, taking his name. The joy on their faces when they're being filmed and saying Labbaik ya Abu Sadiq, or we are with you Abu Sadiq. Beautiful view.
I think that gives Andorra a run for its money now. Serbia has joined Croatia and Andorra.
Bangladesh. I'm really proud of the brothers in Bangladesh. They are resilient, even though they're under a lot of duress by the authorities. And mainly, not even authorities, it's actually the religious scholars who round up mobs to kind of raid and arrest random members. Still, they're going out there and doing their part. They don't care. They said it to us. They said, we don't care. We're going out and we're going to make sure everyone knows about this call. And that's from their own volition that they want to do it.
May the call grow very swiftly in Bangladesh because there's so many beautiful people there with clean hearts and love for the Prophet and his family.
Ecuador.
South America now.
That's Sister Lorena. Sister Lorena, by the way, she is incredible. She went all over her town holding the big black banner up. We saw it in the video earlier. And she was just walking around with that banner and talking to people, handing out flyers.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
That's how she's spending her day. That's what matters to her. There she is. She's got her beanie on and she just walks around talking to people, saying, hey, check this out. And then she moves on, which is just, this takes courage. That's her banner that she's had printed in, is that Spanish? It has to be. It's Ecuador. It is Spanish. MCR is telling us. MCR's geography is really good, by the way.
No, it's a big ask as well. You know, these are countries that don't know about the Mahdi. Exactly. They haven't heard about these terms before. So their task is doubly more difficult. And
it is. It takes a lot of courage to just walk up to random strangers and say, hey, can I talk to you about something that has touched my life? And then explain it to them. That's really... It takes a lot of bravery. I mean, it's not a small task. I don't think... I think it might seem very nice to just look at it in a picture, but putting yourself in their shoes, it is not easy what people do out there.
Yeah, no, it's like somebody in Pakistan going out and saying, look, the return of Krishna is nigh.
Yeah,
and we have to really,
oh my goodness, they would just be looked at like, are you
out of your
why are you talking
mind?
to me?
Exactly.
Who are you?
Move away.
But that's not the case with the Ansar. They have so much faith and they believe in people. And this is something that Abu Sadiq is insisting on. He's saying that the human being is sacred and we are here to be a family, to be a human family. So we have to go out, we have to talk, we have to connect and communicate. And Abu Sadiq has been the first and foremost in doing that. He is right on the front lines, delivering these sermons and lectures and taking questions from all over the world and answering people's questions, allowing people into the headquarters, meeting with people. So if he's doing it, we're doing it, right?
Yeah,
right behind him.
And I think the Ansar who are translating Abu Sadiq's lectures, his sermons into their respective languages, it's making a big impact. And I remember there was this video that we saw where in a very small clip, Abu Sadiq was speaking in many different languages.
Oh yeah,
and
right. Remember that?
Yeah, that was beautiful, and that needs to happen more and more because you can see that dawah is taking off in the Spanish-speaking world. There are people in Turkey who want to know exactly what's going on the ground, and yeah, that effort has to continue, and it's growing. Like we have the language, the numbers of languages that now translate the works of Abu Sadiq is growing, and the work is definitely paying off, as you can see from the effect on the people.
It is. It's really beautiful to see that. And speaking of the efforts of the people, part of our creed is to stand up for the rights of other human beings. It's not even just about our own rights. We believe in standing up for general human rights. And we have coming up a very nice interview that was done by Brother James. And I don't want to give too much away. Let's just go ahead and watch it, and then we'll see what he said and who he was talking to.
Nasaie bin Abdurrahman, a member of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light, originally from Malaysia, gained international attention in July 2023 following an LGBTQ+ solidarity protest by 8 members of the faith in Sogo, Kuala Lumpur, which went absolutely viral. The protest was held in reaction to the strict persecution and capital punishment directed at the LGBTQ+ community in Malaysia in the name of Islam. After a campaign of state-sponsored persecution, arrests and death threats from the general public in Malaysia, the 8 brave protesters fled to the UK, where they now reside and work at the AROPL headquarters. Nasaie spoke with me about his dangerous journey. So we finally get a chance to sit down with you, Brother Nasaie, and it's been a long road for you. But what was it like before you were actually a believer in the Ahmadi religion of peace and light? Can you tell us about your life before that?
So before the protest, like most people in Malaysia, I was working on to build my career. I was a career man myself, and yeah, that's my life was pretty much normal like everyone else. Yeah.
So, Brother Nasaie, how was your experience after the LGBT protest? How were you treated by the authorities? And what is your feeling about the oppressive approach from the Malaysian authorities in the wake of all of this?
Well, after the protest, after the LGBTQ gathering, we were mocked severely by the people of Malaysia and
in public, yeah?
In public, yeah, and we were all over the media outlets, all of them, each and every one of them, and the police afterwards made a statement and say that we're one of the few deviant movements that they're watching, and they were preparing a very they were preparing to prosecute us, and they were saying that they're gonna basically be very harsh on us because we are threatening, and they say that we are poisoning kind of the minds of younger generations, and yeah, that's obviously that's not the case at all. And they stated that we need to be punished severely for violating Malaysian laws, for being heretics, you know, in terms of the Sharia and the civil law too.
So what charges did you receive after the protest directly, and what is the status of the case now?
The Islamic Religious Department of the Federal Territory of Kuala Lumpur prosecuted us for false claims of the appearance of Imam Mahdi, and they say that we are corrupting the minds of the people, and several muftis from some of the states in Malaysia,
Kelantan and Pahang.
Kelantan and Pahang, just to name 2 of them, call us apostates and want us to be punished for apostasy, which is the punishment is worse than you can imagine. Even the Royal Malaysian Police accused us of heresy, and they think we're sort of a threat to the security and stability of the nation. So far and very persistently, the case of the LGBTQ gathering and our humanitarian message of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light continue to receive widespread attention from the media, from the people, and from the authorities themselves.
What about the censorship with the Malaysian TikTok and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, TikTok and YouTube too, and yeah, they block our TikTok and YouTube, and even after that, our message have continued to grow in Malaysia and people are coming into the religion more and more.
So what is the situation currently for the believers in the Ahmadi religion of peace and light in Malaysia today on the ground?
After the call of AROPL spread throughout the entire world and Malaysia itself, the Malaysian government authorities have been threatening to fine and punish every single believer in Malaysia, and we have been some have been imprisoned and some are being put into trial in Malaysia. The believers in the religion, they are not free to practice this faith in Malaysia, and they're not free to practice it without facing severe reprisals. And look, even our book is banned in Malaysia.
The Goal of the Wise?
Yeah, the Goal of the Wise. They think they can ban a book. Yeah.
What does that say about the Malaysian government, in essence, fearing the religion?
Look, if they are on the truth, then they shouldn't have anything to hide.
Brother Nasaie shared the deep peace he now feels, a peace that came from having a long, empty void finally filled, coming from a country where openly practicing his faith was not allowed. His path to the Risers community has been nothing short of transformational. So we asked him, what does it truly mean to move from silent oppression to spiritual belonging? And what does his story reveal about the power of divine truth to free the heart, no matter the borders, no matter the fear?
Well, yeah, I guess for everyone, they always feel like there is something that's missing, you know, and they try to fill it with career, family, and so on. But after coming into this community, that thing is fulfilled. That void inside is fulfilled, and perhaps I didn't realize it at first. After a while, and now looking back, I realized I don't have that hole, that void anymore in me, and I'm free to practice my religion. I feel free in the true sense of freedom. And unlike before, when I was in Malaysia, where you practice all these rituals that feels without soul. It's just soulless, and the rituals are choreographed, really. When I was back in Malaysia, I had many friends who normally say every time something bad will happen to them, they would say, there's no such thing as fairness in this world. Yet here, I find that fairness. There is fairness in this world, and it is in this world, in this community, here with Abba Sadiq. And Abba Sadiq really sees you for who you are, and he sees the potential in everyone. And I'm sure everyone feels deep inside that they have this power, this longing for freedom and for God. And with us here, with Abba Sadiq, we have God.
Brother Nasaie, once a young man navigating life in a country that silenced both his own identity and his beliefs, stood up when it was most dangerous to do so. Along with 7 other like-minded people, he risked everything, not for attention, but for the truth. for dignity and for justice. From the streets of Kuala Lumpur to the shores of the United Kingdom, his journey was paved with pain, persecution and exile. But it's all been paved with purpose. Because in finding the Ahmadi religion of peace and light, Nasaie found not only faith, but freedom. Not only a new homeland, but a divine home. A family of believers who stand with the riser Abdullah Hashim, Abu al-Salih, in defiance of oppression and in full submission to God. To leave behind everything you know, to walk away from your language, your culture, your birthplace. It is not easy, but when the cost of staying is the death of your soul, leaving becomes the form of salvation. And now Nasaie stands not as a victim, but as a witness standing tall, a voice for the voiceless in the wilderness, a reminder that even when the entire world turns against you, God can still choose you. So to those listening, let this be your wake-up call. Truth is alive, the Mehdi is here, and those who seek him, no matter how far, no matter how broken, will find him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's a very well-made segment, very beautiful, beautifully put together, and Brother Nasaie really featured and represented the dawah really well. You know, as somebody who is a straight man himself, he is actually standing up for the rights of people who are being persecuted on the account of their sexuality in Malaysia. And that's a very, very brave thing to do.
No, it is such an important thing to do. I mean, imagine a country like Malaysia, and I guess a lot of people might not be aware of this, but there are quite strict punishments in Malaysia, and they're based on supposedly religious ideals that the government insists upon. They call it their Sharia law. Malaysia is not really on the map when it comes to the idea of being a strict Sharia following country. But as members of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light began to grow in number there, it started to become evident that they do insist on their own state-sponsored version of Sunni Islam. It's a very kind of narrow, these narrow borders they've put around religion, and they say this is the box you must stay in, and you shouldn't really try and tow yourself out of that. You're not allowed to. And you've got brothers like Nasaie and those who were with him in the group that stood up in protest. And why were they protesting? This is so important. Yeah. They weren't protesting for themselves. They weren't affected by these strict laws in Malaysia against really the LGBTQ plus community. But that's the thing. In every society, there will be those who are not perhaps following what the state is expecting them to in countries like Malaysia. And there will be people from the LGBTQ community. So now what do you do? Are you supposed to pretend they don't exist, like Malaysia hopes that you would? Are you meant to find them and punish them for who they are? Because that's what a lot of these governments are hoping to kind of go along and do. Now, our members who were in the country, they couldn't live knowing that that was happening. They couldn't tolerate that, and they stood up and they said, look, we're going to go out there and we're going to protest. At least if we protest, there would be some a different kind of voice, a different rhetoric that would be known to people, which is, hey, this Sharia law that you're imposing on the people and judging them by, we're not standing by it. We don't agree with that. This is our opinion. We think this is repressive. We think this is inhumane and oppressive. And actually, if we went really back and looked at the crime, the so-called crime that the Malaysian government was attributing to members of the LGBTQ community and the way they were punishing people for it, there were these two girls, and this is what really triggered the protest, who were caned for being members of the LGBTQ community. And this is actually so sad. They weren't going out, they weren't hurting anyone, they weren't causing harm to anyone. This was something happening in their own private life, and then because it got outed, they were humiliated, they were harmed, physically harmed. And this is the kind of world we're living in 2025 right now. This is still happening. So that's why the brothers went out there and they said, look, this is wrong, and we need to at least stand up for what's happening, or against what's happening. And they did, but they got arrested for it.
Yeah. I mean, this is, it brings to light also this religious Sharia law versus the penal code in Malaysia itself, the legal branch of the government, because I know there are different laws in terms of if same-sex acts are done in a public space, then they will get punished for it accordingly. But these were two individuals that you pointed out earlier who were having this relationship quietly, and they weren't harming anyone. and they were living their lives as they should do in the privacy of their home, and for that to be caned publicly and humiliated in the way that they were, this really did bring up now this whole issue of homosexuality. And Abu Sadiq talked about the people of Lut and the truth of what was happening. And Abu Sadiq spoke extensively on this issue, and he proved that it wasn't this particular the sexual orientation of the people of Lot or Lut. It was to do with their treatment of the Caliph of God, which takes precedence and preeminence over this aspect which the religious scholars are always highlighting in their speeches. And that was really, really important.
No, it is very fascinating. I think that we have to take a step back and talk about the fact that this is a real life issue. This is a real social issue that is taking place, where there are people in the world who are of different orientations, different gender identity, and so on and so forth. And what is the perspective on that? And a lot of people actually have approached this religion, the Ahmadi religion of peace and light, and they look at it and they'll say to themselves, okay, so they are a continuation of the Abrahamic faiths. They are believing in the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his family, as a messenger. They believe in Jesus Christ as a messenger. But traditionally, if you look at Christianity, if you look at Judaism, if you look at Islam, you do not see any sympathy or any compassion towards members of the LGBTQ community. So then when you hear that the Ahmadi religion of peace and light is this religion that is an offshoot of Shia Islam, and it's a continuation of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, then surely it has to have some kind of similar alignment as they do when it comes to the LGBTQ community and the perspective on that community. But the fact is that it's actually not the case. Why? Because the riser Abu Sadiq, who is the bringer of the seventh covenant, who is the Mahdi, he is mentioned in the will of Prophet Muhammad. He's absolutely the successor of all those prophets and messengers. And he is saying that God does not turn anyone away simply for how they were born, simply for who they are. It is akin to turning someone away for their race, which is absolutely abominable. And who would do that? So you cannot turn someone away because they're a particular race, and you cannot turn someone away for being a particular gender or being a particular sexual orientation. And the reason for that is that people are misunderstanding God very much. They think that God is this tyrannical being that is out there to catch you at not being the archetype that he wanted. And that's just not how God is whatsoever. Any good parent who has a child who comes up to them and says, Mom, Dad, I'm such and such. You know, this is who I am. A good parent will not turn their child out of the house. A good parent will not harm their child for being the way that they are. They will not oppress their child for being different in that sense from how they are. And God is much greater than a good parent, much kinder, much more compassionate. And Abu Sadiq emulates that compassion. He is that spirit, and his arms are open wide for everyone who would want to approach God, even if they are from the LGBTQ community. Why not? That's his stance.
Yeah, and it's this stance that has always been the stance of the prophets and the messengers, and the non-working scholars work in direct opposition to confuse their message. And you can see in the stories, like for example, when Jesus is being put into this difficult situation where he has to give a verdict on a woman who is accused of being an adulteress. And he says very simply, he actually protects this woman, and he says, you know, the one without sin cast the first stone. And very much in the same way, the riser of the family of Muhammad stood up, and all the prophets and messengers did. They protected the marginalized in their society. They came as shields for these people who didn't have the same freedom or the same rights in society. And you can see the LGBTQ community in Malaysia, the way they are maligned and mistreated and looked down upon as subhuman, is completely in contradiction with the message of God and the prophets and the messengers. What isn't acceptable to God is that you kill, you smear, you lie about his caliph. He will not tolerate that. That is the issue that God has. And he's not interested in punishing people for being a certain way that they are, that they're kind of programmed to be. And people are saying that homosexuality is a choice. The riser of the family of Muhammad is saying, no, this is actually something that people are born with. It's like an attribute or a trait. And we must have compassion for people and not humiliate them or ostracize them when they are already under so much psychological stress. And so many in the Muslim world especially And there are no statistics on this because, unfortunately, it's not deemed important enough. But there have been so many cases and stories of people who have committed suicide on account of being completely rejected by their society and by their own family.
That's absolutely tragic. The other day, I will say that we know certain people who, when they would come into this call, they would say, and this is happening in different countries, by the way, they would say that, and this is even an event that was mentioned by Abu Sadiq in the lecture where he was talking to us in the Basilica about this topic, and we brought it to his attention that there was someone who is living abroad, and they asked, can I still be a part of this ark of salvation if I am the way that I am? And they are part of the LGBTQ community. And Abu Sadiq was extremely generous in his answer and very compassionate, and he said that it is absolutely fine and you are absolutely welcome. In fact, we want you to be part of the ark of salvation. We want you here. We want you to be a part of our global family. And his stance was so refreshing, so beautiful. And imagine the trauma that he has saved that individual from enduring.
Yes.
Who then opened up and said that I didn't know I could find people who would say that to me or who would do that for me.
It had a big impact, yeah.
It is beautiful. And I do want to comment also on Brother Nasaie there, who commented on his own transformation and how God, as we know from Abu Sadiq, when you give someone something, God gives you the same in return and more. And he stood up for the rights of people to have an identity and to have security and to have compassion given to them. And in return, he became part of this beautiful community where, as he says in his own words, he says, I didn't know life could be like this. Could be a place where there's fairness and where there's justice and where there is compassion. And he says, I didn't have a life of that nature until I found Abu Sadiq and the community. So I find that to be a very apt kind of karmic justice going on there.
Absolutely, very karmic. And you can see, because Brother Nasaie stood up for a group of people that were being persecuted in his country, God opened the gates of his mercy towards him, and he was able to find the community here with the riser of the family of Muhammad, of which he is a very important member and a very beloved member, and he has definitely taken big strides in his spiritual journey. And it's absolutely true what you're saying, Ali. Anybody who stands up for others and helps others, God helps them. Yeah. God comes to their rescue. God becomes their savior. So I hope that does motivate us to all get out there and support the persecuted and the marginalized in our society.
Absolutely. And we have a very nice segment coming up, a compilation of answers that the Ansar gave to a question. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Never quite understood what love was until I met Abu Sadiq. You have this understanding of a materialistic form of love when you're not with him and you're outside the dunya and you're in this bubble of what love is. It's only when he teaches you that true love is goodness, thinking goodness of everyone and everything, and believing in God's will.
For many years, I carried a deep void in my heart since my father passed away. I was in a world full of darkness. But since I met Abu Sadiq, my true father, this emptiness has been filled. He has become the father that I wanted. His light brings me joy. His care makes me feel truly loved. Since I'm with him, I'm just happy.
I mean, I've never met such a person like him. He's the best person that I've ever met. He taught me too many things that sometimes I couldn't imagine. It is beyond my imagination. He taught me about love. He taught me how to treat brothers and sisters right, and he taught me everything that I've never known before, and I really love him, and I really wish that I can be with him and his community until my last breath, and I hope that I can serve him as much as I can in this incarnation.
Entering this blessed community, I now know the true definition to what freedom is. Before the dawah, I was following society's norms and I didn't feel free and I wasn't accepted for who I was. But in Abu Sadiq Islam's community, you're accepted for who you are and God's freedom is here. So that's what I've learned from Abu Sadiq Islam.
Abu Sadiq awakened me to the truth the world could have never given me. I found peace. I found love. I found the light of God, all in one man.
Abu Sadiq, from his piece, completely changed my life. Being in his community, I witnessed real life miracles happen right in front of me. I've witnessed his intense mercy, his intense forgiveness, and showing us what it means to truly be a servant of God, what it means to truly be a good human being, what it means to have faith in God, and how to overcome trials and obstacles, and how in the end of the day that one of the greatest teachings that he's taught us really is that God, he wants us to be like him, and that is only through us serving, and it's only through doing good to others. And I mean, there's so many other things I can say about Abu Sadiq and how they completely changed my mind. I'm not the same person I was before. The way that I'm thinking, Abu Sadiq's coherency, his logic, his reasoning, just him showing us to be humans, showing us how to be, man, I mean, there's so much to say about it. But no matter what I can say, I can never do justice.
Abu Sadiq has changed me, not just as a person, but on a deeper level. He taught me what the word love really means. And trust me, if you have not met Abu Sadiq, you don't know what the word love means. It is the key to everything.
I learned from my master that bearing a moment of anger with patience and a word of silence is 1,000 times better than cutting back harshly with a sharp retort. Anger makes you lose balance, so never get angry.
That was so refreshing, right? It was so nice to see that.
That was everybody giving their what impact Abu Sadiq made in their lives, and you can see how the different members of the community here in our headquarters are all speaking about the love, the mercy, the attributes of God, really. How each one of them has changed, and their perception of the world around them has changed. How Abu Sadiq has given them a new way of life and a new way of thinking about how to react to life. And everybody has their own testimony, and I think we all have our own personal take on how Abu Sadiq has changed us. And it was really a beautiful segment put together there to show the impact of truth and the Spirit of God on the spiritual life of those who recognize and follow him.
I really kind of wish that the camera person had caught you walking across to some house or some door and asked you that question, Dr. Irfan, so that we could have heard your answer to that question.
I think it would probably be the same as Brother Mamadou. I think word for word.
Mamadou's was awesome.
His was probably my favorite one.
I was going to say,
and he picked the best spot as well. He's very aware of the surroundings.
Right from the pond.
Yeah.
Very symbolic.
Good job.
But there is so much that Abu Sadiq has taught the people. We, of course, as his followers, were saying that, and people will say, well, you are his followers, you will say that. But if you go to the YouTube videos and the lectures and the sermons that he's delivered, a very fascinating thing that I like to find, and I do find it every time he does a lecture, you'll find those comments from individuals who are not believers, who haven't pledged allegiance, and they say, I really like what this man is saying, and he has really changed how I see things, and I watch all his videos, and those comments, I really like those ones because they're so genuine and they're so real. They're coming from a very raw place. A very genuine person is watching and is commenting, and it's not on the basis of being a follower, but because they genuinely do find Abu Sadiq to be a great teacher.
Yeah, and I think one of the wisest kind of sayings came out of one of the youngest people there on the segment, which was Raima, and she said,
Raima's was really beautiful.
Yeah, she said, you don't really know what love is until you've met Abu Sadiq, and that's a very kind of
poignant,
very, very powerful statement, because it shows that the Caliph of God is the one from whom you learn the attributes of God, right? So you always see a relative form of love or kindness, and you see glimpses and glimmers of it in living in the world. But when you're with the vicegerent of God, when you're with the Muhammad or the Jesus or the Moses of the time, who Abu Sadiq is, then you really see it in its full glory, and it has a transformational effect on you. And for people like Raima, who grew up under the tutelage and the influence of Abu Sadiq, they have a very privileged position to benefit from the rise of the family of Muhammad. And we hope that it inspires all of you to make that leap that so many have made and more people are making on a daily basis. It seems the outreach team is flooded, isn't it, Dalia?
There's a lot of work happening here because of, as you said, it is just this ongoing barrage of requests and hijras and people saying that they have to be where Abu Sadiq is. And on that note, I'm so glad you brought that up actually. There are people I've noticed that are, of course there are those who are unable to come for certain circumstances. They have different issues going on in their lives, or they haven't got the means to come where the Imam is. But that is not a permanent factor. Those individuals, despite their circumstances, and this is a fact because we've seen this happening time and time again, God opens the door for them based on their sincerity. And He will. He has that timing for them planned out. There's a divine plan that God has made, has written down, and you are part of that plan. So don't ever feel discouraged or that you're not worthy. God is watching your sincerity. He's watching how much faith and dedication you have for Him, and therefore He will allow you to meet His vicegerent and be with Him one day if that's really what you want. But then there are those who have the means, but then they have, and I've had this question asked a few times now, where they'll send in the question saying, hey, if I don't come, I can come. But if I didn't, can I still be from the 313? Will I still be able to learn who Abu Sadiq is from where I'm sitting at, and kind of just, is it enough?
The answer's almost in the question, isn't it?
I mean, it's a very strange question to ask, I think. It's kind of like saying, I'm not going to come to university, I'm not going to attend any classes. But if I watch a few videos, is it okay that I sit here and get my degree?
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. This is something that I think is not compatible really with, and I think the university degree thing is a very apt thing, and it's the type of course, because some people would say, well, there's some university courses you can do online and it's all good, but this is a extremely practical
you need to put
degree. You need to practice it. This is the place of the working scholars, right? So it's not just theory. This is something that you can only measure your progress by doing things, and to do things under the umbrella of the rise of the family of Muhammad, under his influence, under his guidance, under his tutelage. This is where you really do produce the fruit that opens doors. And actually I think the segments aligned really well, because for those people who are wishing and praying to be in the community of the rise of the family of Muhammad, then Brother Nasaie is a trailblazer. He opened the door. He showed people how to arrive. It's by opening the doors for others.
That's such a beautiful point. If you give to others, God will give to you. And if you're a genuine, authentic human being who wants to be sincere and good, truly good, God will allow you to actually learn from the best, which is Abu Sadiq, and He'll bring you to that person so that you can watch the Spirit of God in action. And that's a whole other level of learning. But there's another aspect to coming to the Imam of the time. There's a whole other aspect. Of course, we benefit from it greatly, and that's something that we are all responsible over. We are accountable over how much we learned and how much we allowed ourselves to develop spiritually. But there's another thing we're also accountable over, and that is that he is the Hussein standing in Karbala today. He is the captain of the ship, and he is that person who is saying to the people, is there anyone out there who will help me? Now, in terms of that perspective, it is, so the question that people were asking, hey, is it okay if I'm here? Is it okay if I'm far away? Can I still become something? The answer to that would be, could you help Imam Hussein from where you were at? Could you sit back, if you went back in time and Jesus is being arrested, or Imam Hussein is being ambushed in Karbala, will you sit back and say, can I help from here? Or would you grab your bag and run for that door and not stop running and never look back till you reach the Imam or you reach Jesus Christ, and you say, I'm right here and I'm not going to leave your side. I don't know what I can do, but whatever I can do, it's for you, and I'm here right now. We would do that, I think, for our parents. We would do that for our children. I think if one of my children were in a position of that nature, there is no force in the universe that could stop me from reaching my child and helping them in a moment of crisis. I think every parent out there, every good parent would say that. So what about the Imam of the time? What about the beloved of God? Are we doing that for him? So that's a question that I hope people could think about and answer for themselves. And when we do receive those kinds of questions, I will say that I kind of I'm very discouraged from answering it because I feel like it is something that should be coming from here. You should know here. No parent will say, should I help my child? And no child will say, should I help my parent?
Yes.
And no believer should say, should I help my imam?
Yeah.
It shouldn't even be a question.
Yeah.
It's a hurtful question.
It is, and I think sometimes God delays people's trips because the people themselves are not in that right kind of frame of mind, right? They need to be visualizing and putting themselves into these positions of when Imam Hussein is confronting the army of the Umayyads, and when Jesus is being taken away by the Romans. Unless you put yourself into these situations, you can't really brace yourself for what is to come. The Prophet Muhammad was told many times, people would say, I love you, Ya Rasulullah, and the Prophet said, well then brace yourself, prepare yourself, because upon you shall come the trials and the tribulations, and it's no different with the Mahdi Sadiq. And I think that's a very important point that you raise for those people who are really wishing and praying to come here. Then they must get into that right frame of mind, where they ask not what your imam can do for you, but ask what you can do for your imam.
Beautiful.
And that needs to be really the way you have to program yourself so that you're ready for when the difficult moment comes, and they will come. Among them, there are also very, very many amazing, beautiful moments, but you have to really, really prepare for the worst in order to survive the storm before the rainbow comes.
Absolutely. We have just enough time, I think, to go over just a couple of comments.
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
Let's read them and comment on the comments. Oh, we've done this one. We did this one yesterday with Brother Kevin.
Okay.
Let's go into another one.
The next one?
We did this one as well. This one was kind of funny. This took us on a great tangent. Here, we haven't done this yet. Would you like to do the honors?
Yeah, okay. If there was a God and it was all-knowing and all-powerful and perfect in every measure, then that God would never require worship. Indeed, it would never have had to create anything, as a state of perfection is already optimal. To answer your question, you're all worshipping your chosen delusions.
I feel sad because Hugh is already wearing a black hat. So here's the thing with this comment. I just want to quickly say, I think the idea that they're deciding that a state of perfection is optimal already, this is an assumption. How do you know that?
Yeah.
Why is it optimal? Who gets to decide what is optimal? What if creating imperfection that leads to perfection is optimal?
Right.
Why does it have to be that a passive state of perfection is the optimal state? There's no dynamic movement there. There's no growth. There's no creation. It's just still. I mean, sounds kind of dull.
Yeah, it does sound kind of dull. I don't understand, but you know, we spoke about, and the Ansar spoke about, a lot of them, about Abu Sadiq's love and God's mercy and kindness. And Ahmad al-Hassan said, without love there would be no life. And what is love but to care for another, to nurture another, to give to another, to protect another, and to manifest this attribute of love? Life was born, life came forth. And I think this is a very, I mean, look, the fact of the matter is that you've got to accept things for what they are. And right now, there are many people, many types of different creatures that inhabit the earth, let alone the universe. And if that's God's plan, then that's God's plan. He is the source and origin of all life. This is what we believe. And He is the absolute creator from which all creation came forth. So if God is perfect, as you believe, or as we all say that He is, then surely this must be the best outcome, because the perfect creator has the perfect plan.
Exactly. It's kind of, yeah.
You know.
I think it should not be a complicated conclusion to reach. And I know that there are these arguments about, is there a God, is there not a God, it's not true, etc. And you know, you can talk about it till the cows come home, but the fact is, like you said, Dr. Irfan, we're here. And I think that the human being has that sense of what is sacred and what is divine and what is godly. And absolutely true love of the other human being is that sacred ability that we have, that God has put in us from Himself as a gift, as something to honor. So if it's there, then He's there, isn't He?
Yeah, exactly.
Someone put it there.
The perfect God with a perfect plan.
Yes. Let's see if there are more comments. Youngster 12. Please explain how God appointed this man. We know how God appoints all his prophets and messengers. Is it man or God that appointed this man, and how? Thanks.
Oh wow, that Purple Heart deserves a purple response.
What does that mean? What's a purple response?
I don't know really, but I think we've spoken extensively on the way in which to recognize God's caliph, God's representative in the creation, and this method has never changed. God is the one who created Adam. He breathed into Adam the Spirit of God, and then that Spirit took different forms as it passed down from the descendants of Adam. And the way in which that individual who has the Spirit of God is recognized is through a will or a public declaration made by one of the successors of Adam. And I think we've covered this extensively. Nabal Sadiq is following that same method that all prophets and messengers from God covered, from Jesus Christ to Moses to Abraham to even the non-Abrahamic prophets and messengers that have been revealed by the riser of the family of Muhammad. And this is the purple response to the Purple Heart.
You made me think of that Prince song. Okay, so now, let's add very quick. Abu Sadiq is appointed by God, not by man. And that's the whole premise of the religion, is that no one appointed by anything other than God should anyway be. Well, that's what we think anyway.
Yeah.
That they have to be appointed by God.
The perfect God with a perfect plan appoints the perfect man.
There you go. There you go. Maybe that should be the name of the show today, the name of the episode. Do we have any comments left? Let's just see. We do.
Okay. Is this for real? Why is he claiming to be Imam Mahdi? I'm curious, no disrespect.
It is for real.
Yeah.
And he's claiming to be Imam Mahdi because he is Imam Mahdi.
No offense taken.
Well, he's one of the 12 Mahdis.
Yeah, he's one of that. See, Imam Mahdi and the Mahdis, this is, you have to make a distinction here, because Imam Mahdi, we believe, is the 12th Imam. The 12 Shias believe the same, and they are correct in believing this. They've all been mentioned in a written will that is available for one and all. If you're a Muslim, you have to know about the written will that was subverted, that was rejected by the people, but it was preserved in the books of narrations of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. And this is a crucial document for you to know about, because in it the Prophet dictated the names of his vicegerents and successors. The 12th of them is Imam al-Mahdi. His name is Muhammad, the son of Hassan al-Askari, and he is Imam Mahdi. And after him there are 12 Mahdis, and the first 3 of them have been named in that same written will, and they have been written as Abdullah, Ahmed, and Al-Mahdi. And Abdullah is the name of the riser of the family of Muhammad. His birth name is Abdullah Hashim, and he's the only one who is claimed to be the Abdullah in the written will of the Prophet Muhammad, and he is the second Mahdi. So 12 Imams, 12 Mahdis. Right now we are living in the time of the second Mahdi, and his name is Abdullah. Aba as-Sadiq is his kunya, and he is the person that we are calling the people to. So I hope that makes that Imam Mahdi versus the Mahdi situation clear for you.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. That should be a YouTube short for anyone who wants to just know the difference. We should make sure that's clipped out.
Let's do it.
Yes, and I think we have one more comment left. Let's see. Social Service 576.
Interesting name. The problem is there is the greater deceiver called Dajjal. How can you make sure he is not Dajjal? Of course, everyone would want to side with the truth and the real Mahdi and Jesus Christ and Allah. How do you guys explain Dajjal? How are all so sure about everything? Tell us, because I want to know too. Quran and Dajjal.
Quran says
Dajjal will bring a lot of miracles, and he will be super convincing and encourage people, bring his believers healing, etc.
First of all, the Quran actually doesn't say that about the Dajjal. The narrations do. So let's just clarify that very quick.
Yes.
How are we so sure about everything? Because, okay, so the gist of this is, if the Dajjal is going to be super convincing, the Mahdi is supposed to be convincing, but they're both not on the same side, obviously, and you have to be aware that the Dajjal can trick you. So how do you know who's the Mahdi? This is the gist of it. And the idea is that the Dajjal will not be appointed in the Holy Will. It's that simple. And I think that's the beauty of this call. And the beauty of the way that God works, He works with simple kind of systems and simple understandings. And while the Dajjal could do miracles, and this is why Abu Sadiq says miracles are not a good proof for who someone is, and while the Dajjal is very convincing and is very powerful and intimidating, the Mahdi will be as well. And the idea is that the Dajjal is not appointed by name in the will of Prophet Muhammad. If there's a man who is appointed by name in a will and testament that has been verified by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ as being the source of guidance that prevents from misguidance, the only source that prevents from misguidance, the only source that if you hold on to it, you will never go astray, that means that in this will there are names that will keep you from going astray. And if there's a man saying that I'm from that will, then we have to have faith in God and we have to have faith in the Prophet who's saying that this man will keep you from going astray, and that man is then the Mahdi. The Dajjal will not be able to say he's from any will. The Dajjal cannot come and say I'm from the will of this person or that person, because only the men from God are able to take that will that's written by their predecessor and say I'm from that will. That's God's divine structure.
And the first to claim the will is the claimant, the true claimant. So that no one now by the name of Abdullah, even if it's on their birth certificate, if they come forward and say, I am the Abdullah mentioned in the will, we cannot take their claim to be true because it has already been claimed. The first to claim is the true claimant, and no one but Abu Sadiq has come forward and said, I am Abdullah. So the Dajjal can be very easily dismissed by using the written will of the Prophet Muhammad, as Sister Alia just said.
Such a nice, easy to understand religion.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, it's good to be part of it. And you're invited to reach out to us at outreach@theahmadiyareligion.com to find out more about how you can also be a part of it. And thank you for tuning in today on this Friday morning. I guess we'll see you guys
again on Sunday morning.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.